So, good morning, Mark Anthony Lord.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad to see you. I told the group I missed out last month, so it feels like forever. So,
Yeah, we had a good time, and Scott was wonderful, and I blew his mind, which was fun.
always good to do. So,
Yeah, so we are literally the Purple Twins today.
I cracked up. I was like, I had to dig for this one because I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm so bored with all my wardrobe, but I was like, oh, there's that purple one down the shelf. And so that's so funny.
It is funny, it is. And I am coming to you all from our brand new home. We're moving in this week, which is super exciting, in Douglas, Michigan, by Saugatuck.
You're moving up to Michigan.
Well, I'm still going to be working in Florida. I'll be going back and forth. But this is it's a couple of homes on a property, so we'll be renting and stuff like that. But it's beautiful. It's so good to be here. And it's so good to be here with everyone in this conversation today. So today, shall I dive in?
Please.
All right. Wonderful. So thanks for being here, everybody. Today, we are diving into, we've been following the structure of the 12 steps. So, and we just use that as a framework so that each month we focus on the spirituality, but it's not that you have to be on that step, because the spiritual components for each step are so relevant. And that's always my goal, whether you're a new person, this is your first day, or you've been in it for years. How can we deepen in our spirituality and our spiritual practice so that our recovery gets better and better? So that's a conversation I love to be in, and I'm really grateful for this platform. So as I said, today we're going to be talking about the spirituality of I don't know if I said, but the 9th step, which is the making of amends. And I didn't write it down, but the 9th step is we made amends wherever it's possible to do so, except where it would cause harm. That's the basic idea, right? Awesome. I think this is it's about making amends, which, I know that Tammy and I strongly do not encourage anyone to jump quickly into this part of our program, because it's at the 9th step. It's much later in the program, and it's really about taking care of ourselves, getting a lot of internal things taken care of in our lives, in our behaviors, before we begin stepping out and talking to other people about it. So I want to really emphasize that, because I know I was one of those people that when I first got into the program, I was like, oh my God, I get it. I see my evil ways. And I ran, and I thought I would just tell everybody my new insights and what I discovered about myself. And it truly backfired. It truly backfired, because I wasn't ready to really understand and own the impact of what I had been doing to myself, or what the addiction had been doing to me and to other people. And because I wasn't ready, other people typically aren't ready to hear it. So anyway, I'll get more into that in a little bit, but we always begin by taking some time to center, to meditate. And then at the end of the meditation, I will say I always forget the name of this darn prayer.
Serenity Prayer.
Serenity Prayer. I'm running in circles, so I got to slow down a bit. So let's do that. If you can, take a nice, slow, deep breath with me. Pulling all of your attention into yourself. And as you exhale, join me in letting go of anything and everything that's pulling your attention away from this moment. Breathing in now, breathing into this moment. And imagine exhaling out the past, the last hour, yesterday, last week, last month, last year, the whole lifetime. Imagine just letting it go. As again, you breathe into the present moment. And join me in exhaling out the future, the next hour, tomorrow, next week, next month, all that is to come. Leave it in the future. And we breathe into this moment, because this moment is where your higher power is. Your higher power doesn't live in the past. Your higher power doesn't live in the future. Your higher power is only and always right here, right now. And as we let ourselves come into the present moment, we come into union with our higher power. Feel the body relax. And join me in imagining that right in the center of your being, I like to imagine it just below the rib cage in the center of my body, is a ball of golden light. Just imagine that if you can. A ball of golden light. And the ball of golden light represents the light and the love of your higher power. Just imagine that as you keep your attention upon it, it kind of develops a heartbeat, and like it's coming more and more alive. And with each heartbeat, imagine that this ball of golden light grows bigger and bigger and bigger until it starts to fill your whole torso, up into your shoulders and spilling down your arms into your hands. This golden light goes up into your throat, into your face, and into your head, circling all around the brain, right to the hairs on the head. And this golden light flows down into the hips and down the legs, past the knees, all the way down to the feet. And see if you can join me in imagining your whole body filled with the golden light of your higher power. And what I like to imagine is that this golden light becomes active. It begins swirling around inside of me. And everywhere it's swirling, it's purifying the body and freeing any muscles or cells or anything within the body that's holding on to pain, sadness, effects of the addiction. You can imagine that this loving power is loving your body and restoring every cell. I like to imagine the golden light like Pac-Man. Remember that video game Pac-Man? And it's just going all through the body and it's eating up all of the toxic waste, the emotional toxic waste, the effects and the negative energy of addiction. Just relax into letting your body be purified. And imagine this golden light now growing bigger past the edges of the body, creating a big golden egg in which you sit. Kind of think about a foot outside the edges of your body, all around you. So you're literally sitting right in the center of a ball of light. And now it purifies your emotional body. All the feelings that get activated or exaggerated or keep repeating themselves, causing pain. Imagine that this higher power light is purifying the emotional body, relaxing it, bringing balance and peace, releasing you from any old pain bodies and stories that are stuck. Purify, purify, purify. And we ask this higher power to prepare our hearts and our minds for being together today, to open us up, to receive wisdom, guidance, connection to each other. Wherever you are, we are together in this Zoom room, but more than that, we're together in spirit. We walk together towards the light of recovery. And I know as we walk together that we go further than we could ever go alone. So everyone who's here today matters. Everyone who's listening later, you matter. You're a part of this. And as we come together in this knowing, I know that our perfect experience happens for each of us here today. And with that intention, I say the Serenity Prayer. If you can say it with me, great, or just say it in your mind, whatever works for you. As we say, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Take a deep breath and bring your attention back to the room you're in, opening your eyes whenever you're ready. Whew. Well, that was fun. Nice to have everyone here. Really appreciate that. So, as I mentioned earlier, we've been following the steps this year, which has been a great way to keep us focused, but we've really been going down the spirituality lane. And this is the 9th month. And the 9th step is we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And making amends is such a powerful transformational practice because we truly become free from the past. It really stops haunting us in a really powerful and magnificent way. But making amends to people, as I started to talk about before our centering, it's best done after we go through all of the steps prior, which help us to do a personal inventory, which help us to become clean and honest with other people. And then we move into really humbling, asking God to remove our defects of character first. So we get all of our internal house in order. Now, not about perfection. And, getting our internal house in order is I think, a forever deepening process. We get some in order and then there's more. And then we go deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's a wonderful experience. You really will. If you're new at it, you'll learn to love the experience of introspection and getting ourselves organized and spiritually aligned. It's really such a beautiful thing. And it's to me, it is one of the primary gifts of addiction. I really live in the side of the miracle now, where I'm so grateful to be an addict because I never would have gone this deep on my own. I never would have done the work to establish my relationship with my higher power so clearly and so intentionally. I never would have done the kind of amends and forgiveness work that the program has called me to do. So who I am today is exponentially better because of first being an addict and bottoming out on that and admitting my powerlessness, but then moving into a path of recovery and making it a way of life. And that's really the key. And, even that comes and goes. Sometimes we're all in 1,000% and then life gets busy and we, get a little more relaxed. But in my experiences, it kind of cycles. And when it cycles and I'm in the deepening process, it's so rich. And then I bring that deepening out into my life, and I get the benefits of all of that. So, the 9th step has a lot of spiritual qualities inside of it. And I've talked about some of them in the past, but I want to begin because this one keeps looping around: humility. Humility, I think, is needed on all of them, all of the steps. We just have to keep being humble, keep being humble, keep being humble. And the reason humility is required and important whenever we're talking to someone else, making amends to someone, is if I'm not humble, I'm not going to be able to keep my defenses down, and I'm not going to be able to listen to hear what they're saying back to me. And I'm not gonna be able to speak from my deepest truth, because if I have an ounce of defensiveness inside of me, that ounce of defensiveness is going to lead me into where the conversation could really go sideways. You know, they may say something to me, and if I've got a little bit of defensiveness in me and that gets triggered, then suddenly I'm no longer making amends. Now we're in this positioning against each other. And that's the common way to be for people that are stuck in addictions and defensive and unhealed. We butt heads like this. And that's the healing we need and want. We want to have conversation that brings us together. And the way to do that is for me to be as humble as I possibly can. And it's important that I pray for that. And it's important that I be patient for that, because my MO is I get the impulse to make the amends. I have the insight and I want to do it really fast. But I want to really do it fast, I think, for me. I want me to have the relief. Oh, I get it. Now let me run and tell you what I did wrong so we can move forward. But all of that is self-centered, because what I've come to discover, and please hear this because I think this is one of the most important parts of our conversation today. When we trust God or a higher power to orchestrate the making of amends, the timing is no longer in my hands. The timing is up to God or the universe or whatever you call it to bring it together so that both parties are open and both parties are able to receive the best out of the experience. And very often, 99 out of 100 times, my timing wants to be faster than what God's timing is. So I've got to be humble and I've got to be patient. Patience is such a positive virtue, because I've really come to discover that this loving higher power, my experience of my higher power and the other person's experience of the higher power is kind of like our one. It's one powerful presence, and it individuates into all the people. So at the higher power spiritual level, things are being done. It's like things are working in the invisible. And we've got to let that work in the invisible. Even the intention to make amends activates what I believe to be an invisible process of coming together. And when it happens in the spirit first, and then it's done when it's activated in the physical, when it comes from there to the physical, it's transformational, it's healing, and miracles happen. And if I try to rush the physical expression of it before the spiritual part has done its work, that's when I fall on my face. And I have done that. It's totally cool, you guys. Again, not about perfection. In fact, I've made some amends too early and at the wrong time. And in hindsight, I've learned a lot from that. So even in the mistake, if you will, like our higher power helps us grow. We discover, it's like everything gets used for me and for you to grow. So even when we rush something, there's a gift in there. But you also learn, like, okay, I don't want to get all my gifts falling on my face. I would like to get some gifts walking up tall and feeling the expansion of it. So that's the benefit of really being humble, so that my defenses are down, and being patient with my process, being patient with my healing, and then being patient with other people's coming around. You see, if you've got a revelation about addiction in your life and an insight about yourself, or an insight about where it comes from, or some way that your higher power is starting to reveal itself in your life, it's a beautiful thing. But you're further along the path than the people in your life, because they're not getting it immediately the moment you are, because you're doing the work, you're showing up. They might be a little slower in the process. They may not be in recovery. They don't know any of these things. So I've really learned that patience and trusting God is important. I've got an example of that. I had gotten into a upset with my mother. My mother, although she's in a nursing home now and very not well, and of course I have all love for her in the world, but when her mind was all together and she was a younger woman, she was tough. She was really, really kind of a bully of a mom, and she would push. And as I became an adult, we got into some real fights and some arguments as I was trying to find my own authority in my own life. One of these times, I don't remember the specifics of it, but I had really put down a boundary, and she never liked when that happened. And I don't know, we got into some kind of a fight. We weren't talking. And in my work and in my prayer work and in working with my sponsor, I had really discovered my part in this upset. I had seen, I think for the first time, how I was the one causing these recycling upsets. I always blamed her. It was always her fault. I was always the victim to the whole experience. Well, one of the blessings of our spiritual work is we begin to see, oh, in my humility, God is showing me my part. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't feel good. But wow, is it sobering? And that's when things begin to shift, when I really open up to discovering my part. So I had really seen like, oh, I actually co-create this ongoing process. Well, my insight to that, I thought, oh, I can now talk to her. I can now say it and make amends. And my sponsor, but really my prayers, my higher power said, wait, no, don't take a step until you are guided. Now, this was hard for me because I just said to you, I'm the guy who's like, I get an insight, I want to run and tell the world. Like, I want everyone to get it now, and that's it. So to be so clearly guided to say, don't do anything. Let me tell you something. It was hard. It was not easy for me to do. I did it, but wow, did I discover so, and that's part of the gift too. When we wait for our higher power to guide us, boy, do you discover a lot about yourself. I really felt how impatient I was. I really felt a lot of feelings that were important for me to feel. So it wasn't just about making amends with my mom and getting on with it. It was like, oh, don't just realize your part, have some healing around all of your feelings about it. God was like forcing me. I'm sorry, God is my higher power word, so I keep using that naturally. So if I slip, that's just my thing. You use your word. So my higher power was not only giving me the insight, if I was willing to be patient, which I was getting more healing within myself. So then there was this day. I was driving. I remember the road. I was living in Chicago. I was driving down the road, and a song came on the radio. It was a John Denver song. Now, my mom taught me how to play guitar. My mom taught me how to sing harmonies. My mom taught me the John Denver songs. So as I'm hearing on the radio a John Denver song that we used to sing together and play guitar together and harmonize together, that was my, oh, wow, is this the moment to call? And that was the question that rose up inside of me. And I've been practicing listening for internal guidance, internal wisdom from my higher power. And I heard, not yet. That almost infuriated me. This was like the clear sign from the universe. How could I be hearing not yet inside of me? Now, again, previously, I would have just overrid that. I wouldn't even have asked. I would have been, ooh, song on the radio, call. But I was really practicing humility and patience. And so I didn't call. But I think it was a sign now that it was getting close to the time, because I think it was like 2 or 3 days later when my mom called me. And not to give the details, but we had a nice conversation, and she had an insight the day before that was so important for her to share. And had I called when I heard that song, even who knows what would have happened, but it's always in hindsight where we can see the magic and the mystery coming together. Had I like jumped on and ignored the intuition voice that said not yet, intuitive voice that said not yet, I would have she wouldn't even have been as prepared as what happened for her. So it was this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful making amends process, which really did forever change the way that we experience each other. And that's the gift of this making amends process. The gift when it's done in God's time, the gift when we let our higher power really mold us and hold us and not let us bust out of the gate too quickly, when we let the behind the scenes puzzle pieces come together, the shift gets to be like profound and deep and kind of forever. Like you reset and you get to recreate a whole new experience. So it's kind of a long story, but an important story to really demonstrate the importance of listening and not rushing through this. I want to tell another story where another time I made amends, and I was well into recovery and had a really good professional career, and I had a board of directors and lots of things going on in my life, and there's some real upsets that happened in the company and with the board, and so I did my work. I did my ninth step. I did my eighth step, and I did my process, and I got to the point where this one guy, I knew what I had to do. I felt inspired. I knew it was time, and I gave him a call. I said, "Hey, I'd like to," and I knew he was in recovery. So I said, "Hey, I would like to make an amends to you. Maybe can we get together?" He was very receptive, very open. I said, "Awesome." So I go to his house, and we sit in the living room, just remembering it as I'm telling the story, and I make the amends. And I really, I was prepared. I did my prayer work. I did all the things I was to do. And at the end, he went into a process of telling me more about what I had done wrong. And he went into a process of like really taking the opportunity to still be upset. And a part of me, I'll be honest, was sitting there going, okay, I just poured out my heart. I just owned all of my stuff. This isn't how it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to hear the angels sing, and he's supposed to stand up and hug me and tell me all is well. So I sat there and I listened. But then I realized in the middle, it's like, I'm not getting triggered. It doesn't feel good. That's okay. I felt kind of sad about it. That's okay. But I wasn't getting reactive. I just let him speak. And at the end, I remember saying, his name was Grant. I remember saying, Grant, thank you for sharing that. And I thank you for letting me make my amends. And I pretty much got up and I left. And I got out to my car and I sat there for a minute because I really needed to just sit there. And I heard God within me say, don't worry about what happens on the other end of the amends. That is not your business. That was huge. That was huge because I did feel good about what I was doing and what I was saying. And I even felt good in the face of getting a reaction, which I didn't expect. And then I had to go, oh, God's got him. God's taking care of him. Maybe he needed that reaction. Maybe the amends caused in him something that had to be stirred up. I don't know. I'm not going to think outside my hula hoop, which is what I teach all the time. I'm in my hula hoop. This is where I work. Outside my hula hoop, that's God's business. I don't take care of other people, places, and things. I don't do it. But God does. And so, again, a huge breakthrough for me. Other people today in my life, to the best of my ability, are fully allowed to have their experience, to have their reactions, to keep their upsets if they want to hold on to them. Who am I to tell anyone that they should be different? And even deeper, who am I to assume that God's not there, right? Oh my gosh, there's so much freedom. I hope you're getting this. There's levels and levels and levels of freedom that come with the practice of prayerfully and intentionally making amends with people. Who you are on the other side of it is more whole. That's all I can say for me. I am more whole. And like I've been telling you, the stories of the experience itself has been the richest part of the path. Just like the preparation, the prayers, making sure I'm humble, being patient, letting God do the timing, trusting the practice and the spirit of it, having amazing amends where love is revealed, having other amends where it didn't cause any new connection, but it was done right, and I had faith in that. And the gift that's always the most important gift is me with me. Because my ability today to be able to make amends more quickly without having to go through a big process is so much easier. Like with my husband, if we're talking or we get into a tiff and like I realize like a little bit later, like, oh, I really need to make amends. I can more quickly access my part. I can just look within and go, oh, here's my part, and I can own that. And I'm so much more courageous. I mean, that relationship is very important, and we've done a lot of work together. And my example is sometimes I can go, I really do apologize for what I said. I just wanted to be mean. I just, in that moment, I wanted to be mean. And I acknowledge that, and I'm sorry about that. And I'm going to pay attention to not doing that. I'm going to do my very best to do that differently. So that's the other part of the amends, is that we change and we're guided on how to be different. And sometimes that's a practice, right? If I want my relationships to be different, I've got to practice new behaviors in there, which is sometimes catching myself before I blurt, or after I blurt, owning quickly the deepest truth. Because the deeper the truth, the more freedom I experience. And today, like, I never would have admitted that I'm saying something to you just because I want to be mean and I want to hurt you. I was so like, I'd like, oh, no. I said that because blah, blah, like I do all this covering up. And now I'm just like, yeah, I felt hurt and I wanted to hurt you. That's what happened. And here's the amazing part, my friends, when it's called an unarguable truth. When you speak an unarguable truth, there's not much the other person can say. They can tell you it's horrible, they can do whatever they can do, but you're just like, yeah. So my unarguable truth is, I did that because I wanted to be mean. It's unarguable because that's what's inside of me. It was my honesty. It was all about me. It wasn't, well, you did this or you said that. All of that external stuff is arguable because people have different points of view. But me, on myself, speaking it from my depth, that's just what is true for me. And so often it makes the other person go, huh. And I remember this particular one, he was like, yeah, I don't like that at all. And I was like, I get it. I don't like it either. But again, that's what's here. And we can make that okay. So this is where great maturity begins to happen. And this is where our relationships really become new. And if I may add one more thought, then we'll take a breath together because I've been just letting spirit speak through me. I believe the new evolution, the next evolution around health is in communication and in speaking our truth and in finding our voice and being clearer, because I was raised in a world where we pretended, we lied, we said we're fine when we're not. We told people we weren't angry when we really were. We pretended we felt fine when our feelings were hurt. All that stuff was fake it, pretend. Well, that doesn't work in the world, and it doesn't create a loving world. A loving world is created where we build our relationships where all is welcome, and we realize that the love is the deepest reality, so everything else just comes up and out to be healed. And we learn to have a voice for that. We learn how to communicate that. And it took a lot of years, and I fell down many times. I did very, very imperfectly. But today, it's so much easier. And I don't feel, I don't want to say I feel no shame or no guilt, because sometimes that pops in, but it's so much less, so much less. Like if I do something stupid or mean, it's just what I did. I don't feel bad, but I don't feel guilty. It's like, I was afraid. That's what happened. Clean it up. Just clean it up. So kind of moving into the 10th step a little bit on that one. But those are my thoughts on this very important conversation on making amends and the spiritual practice of humility, patience, telling our truth. There's a lot in there on that one.
There
So
is, and I'm so glad you shared that. And I wanted to talk about humility, because sometimes people go, "It's the oh shucks, I'm not," And for me, what I was taught was humility is having a clear and honest recognition of who and what I am, and that includes that I'm going to be mean in this moment. So it isn't pretending I'm less than or that I'm better than. It's just being acknowledging who I am. The timing, I was laughing because I'm like you. I want to, check that off my list. Oh
yeah.
shoot, so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
But one of the things I found as I've been around the program was that other people will do the delay. So I think at both ends of that, but the timing. I remember one of mine was, there was this person, and this person was on my list, and I was in a bookstore, and there this person was, and I really wanted to turn around and not be seen, because like I really just didn't want to do it. And but I was like, I really believe this person was put in my path in that moment, because that person was on my list, and kind of no time like the present. So and it was one of those where, like, this thing that I had as this really huge fail on mine, he was incredibly gracious, and and so freeing. And I think so many people, I hear often people getting stuck in the first three steps, and they're a year in and they're still stuck in the first three steps, and I'm like, 4 through 9 is where we
Yeah.
clean things up and get the freedom, so that we're not carrying around those garbage bags of shame and guilt. And I was thinking, when you talked about, sure, you bump up against shame or guilt or something like that, but we do have the, I did something not too long. I forgot what it was. My husband might remember, but I made some unkind, really not nice comment. And like pretty quickly I went, wow, that was really uncalled for. And like, it was all me. And, so I owned it. The other thing about amends is I think addicts are really good at either deflecting, like, like you were saying, it's like, oh, there's all the reasons why, or we go, sorry, but we don't change. So what is really critical is that we have prepared and have the ability to not just keep doing it over and over again, because the sorry, do it again, sorry, do it again, doesn't help us or anyone else in our relationship. So and I also put God's time, not mine. And so God, my higher power too, but I use that for lots of things, because I am very much like, let's get it done, hurry up. And so if I just remember that there's a pacing that may be different than mine, as much as I want to control everything and make it mine. But the pacing, like you talked about with your mom, had you done it, the 2 days before, it wasn't right. Oh, he left. Where did he go? He'll come back. But with his pacing, with his mom being able to be in a different place, and then him being prepared, that really transformed things. So I'm watching for my friend. We'll see, because we've got questions. I want. I'm texting him. Lost you. So we'll start with questions, and hopefully he comes back. So nice to be here. I need some guidance. I feel angry with my higher power, God. I feel resentment. I do not believe he loves me. Otherwise, he would not allow that life gives me so much punches. I really need him in this time in my life, but I feel resistance big time. I can understand and appreciate that. I've been in those moments too. And I don't want to sound trite, but what I really found helpful was the footprints in the sand. Somebody shared that with me, and I actually have a copy of it. But basically, it talks about, during all those hard times, I wasn't alone in it, um, and I really have come to believe in my life that, God hasn't brought me this far just to dump me off, that there really is, my higher power is with me, and I can choose whether I connect or not. And I do choose, and I don't know why. Um, Somebody, I was whining early in recovery, and I was like, why me? And someone looked at me real quick and said, why not? And I was like, oh, like, we aren't promised that things are all going to be rosy and all work out, but we are given support. I have so many people in my life, and around the room, I can go to a 12-step meeting and get support at any given moment, and I've created healthy relationships so I can get support and and guidance whenever I need. So now for me, my higher power is big enough to handle my anger and my resentment, and it's okay for me to share that. I don't have to pretend like Mark was talking about. I don't have to pretend like everything is, all hunky dory, and so for me, expressing that and owning that, was a critical part of my healing process. So the next question, and hopefully he comes back, but I'm in recovery and right at this phase of cleaning up my home before the amends. Some amends have come. What I'm having a hard time navigating is boundaries. I desire healthier friendships. I'm finding people in recovery. I like to ease into it, take time to get to know people. I'm discerning who is good for me to befriend and who not. I was being shamed by some as if being stuck up any thoughts. I try really hard not to take on other people's opinions and shame. Um, I actually applaud because, I think in my addiction, I didn't do such a hot job of creating healthy relationships. Internet went out. He's working on it. So in my experience, what happened for me, here he is. He's rejoining, so he'll be back. But as I was saying, so in my experience, for me, the slow path was a better one. Hi.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I was like, you were there and then you were gone. So I've started on the questions, but I'm going to ask them for you so that you can weigh in. But right now I'm if you can see I'm on the second one. I'm in recovery and right at the phase of cleaning up my home before the amends. Some amends have come. What I'm having a hard time navigating is boundaries. I desire healthier friendships. I'm finding people in recovery. I like to ease into it, take time to get to know people. I'm discerning who is good for me to befriend and who not. I was being shamed by some as if I was being stuck up. Any thoughts?
Well, part of the work for us, yeah, a lot of thoughts going through, and let me take a breath. Whenever I'm concerned about people not keeping boundaries, what I'm really concerned about is my inability to honor my own boundaries. So what I'm really saying is, hey, world, play by my rules so I don't have to put boundaries down, or I don't have to be uncomfortable, or I don't have to do all these things. And the reality is, it's always about myself. I can discover like, oh, I've got a part of me that doesn't respect my own boundaries. I've got a part of me that's afraid to be clear and to have them because I don't want to be judged, or I don't want people not to like me, or use the word, I think People will think I'm stuck up or something. The truth of the matter is I have that thought inside of me, which is why I'm worried about someone else thinking it. See, everything is I'm going deep here, but everything is my reflection. And it's never, whatever someone else is thinking about me is their business. It's all about them. But what I'm thinking about me is my business. And what I tend to not own are my own thoughts. See, you project it out. They think I'm stuck up or they think this. Well, the reality is they may or may not. But but I think I probably think that about myself, or I'm afraid that that's what people are going to think about me. So there's a lot in there in the sharing that you put forward around boundaries and around relationships. And the bottom line is we all are free to build relationships as quickly or slowly as we want. We all have total permission to do our lives the way we want to do them. And the only thing bumping in the way is my fear of what people think of me, my fear of being rejected or excommunicated, my fear of not being liked. All of those things are where I want to get more deeply interested, because when those things are taken care of, putting a boundary down becomes easier. So what I love for you is that this issue is causing you to see yourself. You know what I mean? If you're willing again to be humble and you're willing to just go within, it's like, oh, wow, look at all that's being triggered here inside of me. Can I welcome that? And can I know that my higher power is bringing this up for healing? So to the best of my ability, I guess my point is your ability, stay focused on yourself, be curious around owning all of the thoughts and the judgments, and they will lead you to what is right for you to do in that area. I hope that was helpful, but that's what came through to me. What else? Tammy always adds good stuff to make it even
Well,
better.
I was sharing that it's really easy to like dive in and tell everything and all of that. And and in my acting out, I wasn't making the best choices for friends. So I think going slow, and pacing it and finding out who's safe and who's really going to have your back makes a lot of sense. And I did say too, it's like, what they think, is, I need to not care so much. I mean, some people are going to like me, some people aren't, some people are going to think this or that. That's really up to them. If I'm living true to myself, then the people that I want to attract, that I want to have in my life, are going to see the real me, not some facade that I have to put on to impress somebody or another.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. One of my favorite mentors and teachers was, he was really teaching about this in a group I was in, where this woman was very upset because she would go just even out dancing or something, and she's like, men wouldn't respect her boundaries and they would sexualize her and blah 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 and all this stuff. And she was very upset that her boundaries weren't being respected, and he really brilliantly helped her see her deepest fear was her own fear that she wouldn't respect her own boundaries, that she
Interesting.
wouldn't know how to stand for them in the moment of upset. And that is hard for all of us. If someone's doing something or saying something that crosses our boundary, it's not fun to have to call it out. So we always hope that everyone else will just respect my boundaries so I don't have to speak up. But the greater gift is building our muscle in lovingly, clearly setting boundaries where we need and want them. That's a practice, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And, and my boundaries can change, like at certain times I've needed, or with certain people that are less safe, I need, a different boundary with this person than I need with that person. So I think it's fair to continue to examine my boundaries, and are they serving me well, and great. Do I need to tighten things up? Do I need to loosen things up? So I think continuing to look at what is appropriate for me in this moment with that person, is useful too. So
Yeah. And emphasizing over and over and over and over here, this is why we need each other. Because if you've got a good sponsor, if you've got friends in the program that you trust, or a great therapist, or whatever it is, if you've got people in your life where you can talk it through, not in a gossip way or not in a judgment way, but in a genuine way for you to discover what's here for you, that's one of the best gifts of program, is that we have each other, so we don't have to, we can practice some things first. You know, I could call Tammy and practice something with her, and she can say to me, oh, when you said that line, Mark, it sounded like a dig, you know, because she's going to be able to hear those little things more than I am, because I'm still pretending. Or I'm not as aware because I'm inside myself and I'm so inside the story. So the more we let other people help us, the better our communication and boundary setting and all these things. It gets so much better. So I know often I find myself going immediately to, oh my God, I've got to have a conversation with this person, forgetting that, yes, that may have to happen, but what if I have a conversation with a loving friend or someone in the program first, again, only in the guise of trying to work through my part and help me figure out what to do. That's really a huge benefit of this program.
I I had, and it was a righteous email I was going to send. And I thought, I should call a friend that knows both of us. And he listened, and he said, you don't want to send that, and here's why. And I thought, thank goodness I knew to, like Nora, I send a zillion emails a day, but with this one, it was like, you need to phone a friend, and I'm glad I did. And he was exactly right. Cause he's like, it's not going to do any good. And, like he went, and I was like, he's right, but even just the process of talking to him, like it was all fine. And, I just moved on. It was just, and that was useful to me. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So next question, since for the last year and a half, I've been dealing with immense guilt. My mother died and we had no contact for years. I'm on the healing journey for a couple of years and not ready to help her or care for her. I feel so bad, even though she would not accept me, my help or care. I feel bad for her and her bad life. And she was full of anger and bitterness. I was afraid of her, and now I am suffering because of this. I'm starting to hate life. I had my portion of pain and crisis and loss. Sometimes I don't know why I'm on this healing journey. I am miserable.
That is so honest. I really appreciate that. I want to understand at the beginning, is her mother dead now? Or
Yes. So apparently her mother, so a year and a half ago died, but they were estranged, and her mother was not helpful, was angry and bitter, and would not accept help. So her mother was not inviting her into the space. And, clearly there was a very damaged relationship.
Yeah. And here's what's true, especially after our parents pass. If we don't do the forgiveness clearing work, if we don't forgive them, we become them. And that's just the hard truth. And I'm saying that to say, you already ended with, like, you don't like your life, you don't feel good. And imagine that's how your mom might have felt. You're probably describing the inner reality that she was having, that you share. So the healing that you call forth around this is, number one, so important for you, but it's also the gift you can give her, because your mom isn't here in the physical world, but my belief is your mom's spirit is still alive and well. And in fact, I've helped lots of people have better healings with people that have passed than they ever could have had while they're in the world of form. Because I like to imagine, your mom was very limited in her physical experience, but when our body is laid down, our spirit becomes expansive, and we have a great perspective. We discover all the love that we are. We discover all the love that we missed out on. And very often I can imagine your mother looking at you going, oh my God, I didn't know. I didn't understand. But now that she's in her spirit, I believe, this is all me, I believe she has greater understanding. I believe she can see from a higher place. She can see from where her higher power sees. And so you have access to her spirit. And I recommend like write her a letter and get it out and really, and then, very often I'll invite people to close your eyes, say a little prayer, and see if there's any response that comes from that person. Sometimes it's almost like we can channel their voice, or we can channel some wisdom that feels like it would come from wherever they are now. So I would say your healing opportunity with your mother is right now. And so give up the idea that it's too late. Stop beating yourself up. Don't make up any more stories about, because you're just causing pointless pain to yourself, because you could actually lay all that down and just begin. You could start talking to her. You could look at her picture and talk to her. And I actually believe that you could do a full rant, screaming, getting all the resentment and hatred out of yourself. And her spirit could hold the space for it way better than she ever could have in the world of form. So that's really, please don't think that relationship is over. It's not. In fact, it's more available to you in some ways. The other thing that I want to really emphasize, and I'm losing the thought, it was really good, about, shoot, it'll come back to me.
It'll come back and interrupt me. But, and I would like I would invite you to think about, I mean, what her life sounds sad. She was probably a very broken person, and she did not have help. And, I think about previous generations, and they didn't get the mental health help, that could have set them on a different journey. You have the opportunity. There are resources. If you are struggling with clinical depression, get to someone who can to find out for that. You have opportunities to work with people like Mark Anthony Lord to do some, grieving work and to get in touch with all of those things. So you can do it differently. She didn't have that, and she missed out on you. So while you're going to grieve the loss of what could have been and should have been and whatever, she wasn't capable of doing that. But you do have in this moment the opportunity to shift things, and that's a gift. And so I would invite you to take that and and do the work you need to do to get there.
Yeah, and
Did you think of it?
No, that's great. I did.
Yeah.
But I would add to that that I really believe your mom can benefit from that work. Again, just because she's not in the physical doesn't mean that if you do deep healing work and forgiveness work, believe me, both of you win.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Yes, what I did remember, and I think this is vitally important and hard to understand, but we seem to be going deep today, which I love. Don't assume that because your human eyes see all this negativity and all these choices she made, don't assume that that's all that's there, because she has a higher power. And I've come to really appreciate that my human eyes can't begin to discern what's really going on with someone else's spiritual evolution. Like maybe someone's lifetime of suffering is for some great reason for their soul's evolution that I will never know. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to make up a story on the other end about her. What I'm trying to say is, I think we know only a little. And what we need to pay attention to is you're continuing to upset yourself with the story about how she lived her life. You're using that story, which is over. She's done. She's over. That story's over. You're repeating it inside yourself. And that is where you're picking up the mantle of suffering. And now you're beating yourself up with it. So I really appreciate what you said, Tammy, like, do this work and let's, I just think I think it's the most precious place to have a breakthrough. I did see the
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
You know, you
There's
must.
a chat. Yeah. So And we have one more question, and I want to do it because we had a little hiccup with technology. So I'm reconnecting with my adult son after many years of being estranged. I'm wanting to devote a lot of time into my relationship with him because I have big amends to make with him. How can I make genuine amends without overdoing it or trying to buy back his love or bribing? I like to cook and invited him to meals, hoping quality time happens where I can regain trust, love unconditionally to get to know him, trying to keep expectations down and creating a safe space for him. He's had mental issues and substances, but he seemed very willing to see me, even happy to.
That's lovely. That is so lovely. And you asked all the right questions. You focused on all the right areas. What I would say is be less interested in what you want to say to him and be a lot more interested in who he is. Ask him questions. Just get to know him. Don't worry about, because sometimes we get together with someone and we're not even with them because we're all inside our own head. I want to say this, and I want to say this, and I want to say this. And I would say to you, if you really want to love your son, then get to know your son. Then ask him questions. Be deeply interested in his world. You may spend the next year or a couple years affirming him and proving that you're interested in him by your actions and your word. And then there'll be this day where you can suddenly open up and share things because the timing will be right and because he will be available. Right? Again, I mentioned it earlier. Just because you're ready doesn't mean someone else is. And so now you've got to give him to God and let his higher power really take care of him. And again, the best gift you can give him is interest in him.
Yeah,
You
I was
just,
thinking living amends, and living amends are just doing our life differently. And I was also thinking, like you talked about with your amends with your mom, not yet. So I think the rhythm will really be set by him, and if he comes to you and says, when you did thus and such, it was really hurtful to me. That's an opportunity. So if you really trust the process and just be patient and ready, I really think you'll be guided. But I love that you're creating space, inviting him in. You're trying to keep expectations down. Great, but just, I mean, we want to connect, and so you providing the opportunity to do so clearly with love and interest. I think that's fantastic.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm so sorry I got bumped out today, but what a rich experience we're having. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. And I always thank you, Tammy, because I always learn from you. I think we're a good team.
I think so too. We're twins, so I
But
love doing this. So yeah.
I always look forward to, like, well, I have my thought, but I always want to know what you think because you help round it out or something. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I love doing this. So, and thank you all for coming and for asking questions and just tolerating the technology issues. That's all, helpful. And did you respond to the one in the chat about emailing you?
Oh, I didn't, by the way, but
Would you please?
yeah, everyone who knows, like, you can just, it's Lord Mark Anthony at Gmail. So if anyone wants,
LordMarkAnthony@gmail.com. And that's being recorded because people watch these on YouTube as well. So
yeah.
thank you all. Thank you. I will see you at the beginning of October, we'll be here before you know it. So enjoy Douglas.
Much love,
All
everybody.
right. Bye.